Isn't a speech just a speech? Well, that's a great question. But no, there are different types, and we use different types in different situations, and they all have a different purpose. So I want to go over the three primary types that the textbook talks about. You'll do them all, the informative, the persuasive, and the special occasion. We're going to take a 10,000 foot view so you understand the basics. Let's go with informative. So it falls under the extemporaneous umbrella. When we say, what do I talk about for my speech? Well, there's so many options: people, events, concepts, processes, objects, or issues. This is kind of the who, what, when, where speech, right? So you can use lots of things. I would call it a subject speech, but how do you talk about it? So it's important that you define it or describe it or demonstrate it. But here's the tricky part about informative speeches. And when students come to me and say, I want to talk about social media and how it influences suicidal thoughts, or I want to talk about how there are so many dogs that need to be adopted in shelters. Remember this: informative speeches are to enlighten. You don't want to advocate. It doesn't want to feel like you're pushing an agenda. So you just want people to go, I didn't know that. That's the goal of an informative speech. Now let's move on to persuasive. It again falls under the extemporaneous umbrella, follows an outline, is not memorized. You're not reading from a manuscript. Persuasion jumps into the psychology of things, so it appeals to human psychology. We'll talk in persuasion about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're going to tap in to people's feelings. Aristotle said there is a magical formula that has three parts: logos, ethos, pathos. We're going to dive into understanding that logic, that credibility, and that emotional appeal. And then here's the real trick to persuasion: set modest goals. Our job is to influence, to shift people a little bit, and not to expect a huge change. Finally, special occasion speeches. These are not extemporaneous. These are usually manuscript or they are memory speeches. They're designed to entertain or celebrate. They can inspire. Sometimes they set a social agenda, but again, we're trying to invoke emotion. These are the speeches that use vivid language, lots of metaphors. They use the rhetorical devices that cause people to feel something. It feels like they're being moved when the person is talking. So these are the speeches that make you laugh and they make you cry. They require an etiquette. So when we get into those, you'll learn that there's an order to things. There's etiquette for how you address. There's etiquette for how and when you present information, what you talk about, what you don't talk about. So special occasion follows an etiquette. And finally, here's the one thing that doesn't change, regardless of the type of speech that you're doing. Just remember, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes presentable.